Have you ever gotten to a position where you had absolutely no clue what to do? Or better yet, gotten into a position and didn't even realize you were in that position? How many times have you started a match saying, man, when this thing happens, I'm going for that move? You have no clue what's going on. Then by the end of class, you realize you didn't even come close to that position or that move. My name's Tony Mathers. I've been training jiu-jitsu for over 20 years. I've been teaching for about 12. I like to think about jiu-jitsu more mechanically, like an engineer. And I've been trying to break down this framework, and I want to go over that with you because I want your help telling me if this works or if I'm just full of it. I call this the BJJ timeline, where I took the concept of plan A and plan B, and I started to build it out to make it more like a methodical thought experiment, like the periodic table, where everything kind of has its place already laid out for us. So we've been breaking down plan A and plan B, how we want to work for the submission and avoid getting submitted. We talked about why and we talked about where. If none of that sounds familiar, please go back to the other videos and so that way we can get all caught up. Because in this one, I want to talk about what's. What is it you're actually trying to do when you're grappling? Of course, we all know we want to get the submission. The problem is a lot of steps have to happen before we can get there. So if we think about this timeline as a map, you are always going to be located on one of these spots, anywhere between you won and you lost. Where you are on this map will dictate what options you have and which ones you should be doing. The goal is to move forward as many steps as possible at a time to get to this submission. Any step you take that moves you forward on this timeline, I call an action. And there's only 5 actions in jiu-jitsu that I want to break down for you. You're either trying to take them down, pass their guard, sweep, submit, or escape. Don't get me wrong. You should always be doing something. You should always be guarding. You should always be pinning. You should be pummeling. You should be moving. Those are all actions and verbs that at a minimum maintain your status quo. But if you want to actually move forward to improve your position, you have to take one of these 5 steps. And each one of these is intrinsically linked to a position. Now, I realize that this might be hard to see. I am what you might call a Luddite. And one day, I shall learn and invest in technology. But for now, we're all doing the best we can. Good. With that being said, let's break it down here. Standing positions, guard, half guard, and legs. Now, if this is making your eyes bleed looking at this, you should subscribe and comment down below to tell me how much better I could be doing technologically, because obviously I really need the help. So when you're in a standing position, the only thing that you can do or should be doing is trying to take down your opponent. Takedown is the one special use case that's the only time that action appears. With guard has all the other actions you could possibly taking. Context is important. You're not going to be passing someone's guard when you're on bottom, but all of those are present with a guard, which is why people, when starting off, have such a hard time understanding what guard is, what they should be doing, how they should be doing it. When you're on bottom, you have the option to either sweep or submit. When you're on top, you're either trying to pass or potentially escape any submission that they throw your way. Obviously, if you're on top, you're working for the pass, you need to be mindful of the sub or the sweep. So keeping on top of the escape can make the position cumbersome. That's why guard's so hard for people. Same thing with half guard, sweep, pass, sub, escape. With legs, the only thing you're really doing is pummeling, so submitting or escaping there as well. And then finally, when any pin is involved, if you're on top, the only thing that you're doing is trying to maintain that pin, improve that pin, but ultimately work for that submission. And if you're on bottom, you're trying to escape constantly. Whether it's you're escaping the pin or escaping the submission, that is your main goal. I talked about this in the last video. You're here, you have the guard, they're trying to pass you. But before they finally got around your guard and got you to side control, you don't have to wait until they have that pin in there, the refs raise the 3 points, and now it feels like you're stuck under concrete. There's that subatomic level where the switch flips from a binary 1 to a 0 that you can just immediately go from guarding, trying to sweep or submit them, to immediately escaping. And the problem is most people wait until the position is settled before they start taking action. You can take action right away. I want you to think about the reason why most competent black belts in their 40s and 50s are able to do what they do. It's not because they're the strongest and fastest they've ever been in their life. It's because they can see the technique coming that much sooner. They have this down to the subatomic level. They can tell you nanosecond by nanosecond where they are in their role, and they know exactly what it is they're trying to do. So we have the takedown, pass, sweep, submit, and escape. And I know what you're thinking. What about reversals? What about guard pull? Whatever have you. Okay, so first off, if you're doing a guard pull, I would argue you're intentionally moving yourself backwards on the timeline. So one, why the hell are you doing that? Two, I already told you an action is moving yourself forward. And three, shut up. Now reversals, those are a special case. I want you to think about those like warp pipes. I will handle those later. However, before we move on to the hows, there's something I want to talk about in the next video. How do actions work? There's actually an underlying principle that makes all of these work, and every one of them operates on 3 steps. If you can fundamentally understand, and better yet, master those 3 steps, you're going to be able to 100% execute any technique that you do, and more importantly, understand how injuries occur. So if that sounds exciting, make sure you subscribe so that way you don't miss anything here, because look at how fun and awesome I am, and I'll see you in the next one.